and idiocy in the world. I think all faith is terror.
At 66, Robert Smith finally stops hiding the darkness he's carried for decades. No metaphors, no gothic poetics, just the raw truth from the man who built an entire empire on emotional honesty. In a rare, unfiltered moment, the frontman of The Cure admits there were musicians who didn't just bother him. They infuriated him, not because of jealousy, not because of competition, but because he believed they betrayed everything music was supposed to stand for. Behind the smeared lipstick and the black eyeliner was a man who guarded authenticity with a ferocity few understood. And today, he's ready to reveal the 6 artists he despised the most, 6 names that shaped his anger, his philosophy, and his legacy. And the first name on his list is someone almost no one expected. Number 1, Madonna. The ambition wrapped in artifice. Madonna wasn't just a pop star to Robert Smith. She was the symbol of everything he believed music should never become. To him, she represented corporate ambition disguised as artistic expression, a machine built for fame and fortified by marketing psychology. When Smith watched the Material Girl video for the first time, he reportedly shook his head and muttered, "She's everything that's wrong with music." It wasn't her genre that bothered him. It wasn't even her global domination. It was the calculation. Smith, who wrote songs soaked in pain and honest desperation, felt deeply offended by what he saw as Madonna's engineered vulnerability, feelings constructed in boardrooms and market-tested before ever reaching an audience. While The Cure poured raw emotion into everything they touched, Madonna crafted imagery designed for mass appeal, perfectly choreographed to catch the cultural wind. And in Smith's world, that wasn't art, that was branding. Backstage encounters only made things worse. Smith often avoided her entirely during industry events, once telling a colleague, "I don't associate with people who treat their soul like a brand." To him, Madonna wasn't an artist in the traditional sense. She was a CEO of her own cultural empire, a symbol of ambition polished into pop perfection. And Robert Smith, the self-appointed guardian of emotional authenticity, had no patience for someone who turned vulnerability into a production. Number 2, Billy Idol, the punk rebel who sold the revolution. If Madonna represented commercial ambition, Billy Idol embodied an even more personal betrayal in Smith's eyes. Punk wasn't just a genre to Robert, it was a movement, a philosophy, a scar-covered truth about rebellion forged from anger and desperation. But Billy Idol? Smith believed he turned that rebellion into a cartoon. When Idol transitioned from snarling punk frontman to MTV superstar, complete with bleach blonde hair and sculpted rebellion, Smith felt something break. According to several musicians from the late 70s scene, Smith once watched Idol perform and told them, "He's turned rebellion into a cartoon. Punk was supposed to mean something." To Smith, Idol was more than a sellout. He was the death of authenticity dressed in leather. Idol's meteoric rise during the MTV era infuriated Smith even more. While The Cure fought their way into the mainstream without sacrificing identity, Idol embraced the camera, the choreography, the carefully curated aesthetic of danger. Smith referred to Idol's music as punk for people who shop at the mall, a brutal indictment delivered with his signature cold detachment. The conflict escalated when Rebel Yell dominated MTV rotation. At a London club in 1984, witnesses say Smith walked out the moment Idol's video appeared. "I can't watch Punk's corpse being paraded around like this," he reportedly said. To Smith, Idol wasn't just selling music, he was selling the soul of punk, repackaged for mass consumption. And that, in Smith's eyes, was unforgivable. Number 3, Duran. Duran, the glamorous mirror of everything he rejected. If punk had been corrupted by commercialization, then Duran Duran represented its gleaming, polished opposite, music so heavily stylized that Smith believed it had lost all emotional weight. Their sharply tailored suits, exotic videos, and glossy MTV aesthetic infuriated him. When he first saw one of their videos, Smith reportedly muttered, "They've turned music into a fashion show. Where's the soul?" In the early 80s, both The Cure and Duran Duran were navigating the rise of MTV, but their paths couldn't have been more different. The Cure brought shadows, introspection, and emotional honesty. Duran Duran brought yacht parties, silk shirts, and music videos that looked like perfume commercials. To Smith, none of it felt real. He didn't hate them personally, but he hated what they represented. Image over substance. Some bands crafted feelings, others crafted aesthetics. And Duran, in his mind, were the poster children of the latter. At an industry event in 1983, Smith reportedly refused to be photographed with Simon Le Bon. "I won't be used as a prop in their marketing campaign," he said afterward, clearly viewing their universe as one built on artifice. Despite Simon Le Bon later expressing admiration for The Cure, Smith remained unmoved. To him, Duran Duran signaled the music industry's descent into surface-level glamour, where beauty, wealth, and image overtook pain, heart, and honesty. In Robert Smith's philosophy, that was reason enough for contempt. Number 4. Morrissey, the performer of pain. Not the survivor of it. The rivalry between Robert Smith and Morrissey remains one of the most notorious feuds in alternative music. Both men were crowned kings of melancholy in the 1980s. Both wrote about sadness, loneliness, and emotional torment. But Smith believed there was a crucial difference. His sadness was lived. Morrissey's was performed. According to music journalist Simon Reynolds, Smith once watched Morrissey perform and told his bandmates, "He's not sad. He's just performing sadness for people who've never felt real pain." The bitterness came from Smith's belief that Morrissey's persona, tragic, tortured, dramatic, was calculated for effect rather than born from genuine suffering. Smith never accepted the comparisons between The Cure and the Smiths. He resented the idea that their emotional landscapes were similar. At one industry event in 1988, witnesses say Smith deliberately avoided Morrissey, refusing even to acknowledge him. Later, he reportedly said, "I don't need to compete with someone who treats depression like a costume." Morrissey, for his part, made subtle digs at fake goths during interviews, widely interpreted as shots fired back at Smith. But Smith's contempt had deeper roots. He saw Morrissey as the embodiment of manufactured misery, a persona crafted for applause, for a man who believed authenticity was sacred. This was a direct insult. Their feud became legend not because of what was said, but because of what each man represented in alternative culture. Two sides of sorrow. One lived, one performed. Number 5. George Michael, the sanitizer of heartbreak. Robert Smith's disdain for George Michael wasn't about genre. It wasn't even about fame. It was about emotion. Real, raw emotion. Something Smith believed Michael had polished into something unrecognizable. When Smith first heard Careless Whisper, he reportedly told music journalist John Savage, "He's taken real heartbreak and turned it into elevator music. It's obscene." To Smith, George Michael represented the commercialization of pain. While The Cure wrote songs that tore at the listener's insides, retaining their jagged edges, Michael created heartbreak wrapped in smooth, radio-friendly melodies. Smith believed this softened emotion into something palatable, betraying its essence. "Love songs should leave scars, not make you feel comfortable," he said in a Select magazine interview. Their tension escalated in the early 90s. As both artists grappled with public relationship scrutiny, An awkward encounter occurred at a major music event in 1991. Witnesses recalled Smith refusing to shake Michael's hand. Later, he justified it by saying, "I won't shake hands with someone who prostitutes real emotion." Michael was reportedly hurt, as he had spoken highly of The Cure in interviews, but Smith was unmoved. For him, George Michael symbolized a kind of emotional sterilization that ran against everything he stood for. Where Smith saw heartbreak as a wound, Michael turned it into a product, and that, to Robert Smith, was unforgivable. Number 6. Bono. The Messiah complex Smith couldn't stand. And then there was Bono, the man Robert Smith reserved his deepest, most personal contempt for, not because of U2's music, but because of Bono's persona, the preacher, the prophet, the rock star who seemed convinced he was saving the world one concert at a time. This rivalry was philosophical, almost ideological. Bono's grand speeches, humanitarian crusades, and messianic stage presence rubbed Smith the wrong way for decades. According to former Island Records executive Chris Blackwell, Smith once said after watching a U2 performance, "He thinks he's saving the world, but he's just another rock star with a God complex." To Smith, true artistry required humility. Bono, in contrast, embodied a kind of moral grandstanding that made Smith recoil. At a festival in 1987, Smith allegedly confronted Bono directly, saying, "Real artists don't need to tell people they're saving them. They just make music that might help." Bono, reportedly puzzled, always spoke respectfully of The Cure. But that didn't soften Smith's stance. He saw Bono as the ultimate product of rock stardom's worst evolution, a performer who turned sincerity into spectacle, activism into branding, and connection into performance art. For Robert Smith, Bono wasn't just another musician he disliked. He was the culmination of everything he believed had gone wrong with modern music. At the end of it all, Robert Smith's resentment wasn't about rivalry. It was about protection. He guarded music the way others guard faith, seeing every betrayal of authenticity as a personal wound. These 6 artists, each in their own way, crossed a line he refused to tolerate. And now, at 66, he finally speaks without hesitation or disguise. His confession isn't meant to shock, it's meant to warn. In a world where image sells faster than truth, Robert Smith stands as a relic of something rare, a man who still believes music should bleed.